Okay. So we'll start off with a call to order here. Ms. Are we all right?
Yes. Call to order at 6:02.
Yep, 6:00, yeah. Is that what time it is?
Okay, and I'll do roll call if you're ready.
Yeah.
Member
Sure.
Ron Rader,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sierra,
Here.
Chair Vanderpool,
Here.
Treasurer Patel is absent. Councilmember Martinez stated he would be absent this evening, and Councilmember Voigt.
Here.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Nicole. All right, so any actions for an excused absence? All
Mr.
right.
Martinez and
Oh, yeah.
and Treasurer Patel.
Okay, so those were both added. Adjustments to the agenda. Anything people want to have adjusted? All right, any conflict of interest disclosures? Okay. Peter, I'll let you lead us in the pledge.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, well.
It's over at the
Yes,
groundbreaking.
exactly. It's at the groundbreaking over there.
All right, ready, begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to mention something, Mr. Chair. Sure. If I could. Yeah, I wanted to mention something. You mentioned conflict of interest. When I was appointed, the city attorney brought up the question if there was a conflict of interest because I'm on the board of directors of the hospital, and to contact legal counsel of the hospital, which is what I did. And they said they don't see any reason why there ever be a conflict, but if there is, I can recuse myself. And I should be able to understand what that conflict would be. So anyway, so hopefully I'm here legally and unencumbered. Thank you.
All right, thank you for letting us know. We do appreciate, we're glad you were able to consult regarding that and got some advice regarding that. All right, so first thing up, we have to approve the minutes. Let me take a
If
look
we
at.
could do Chairman, public comment first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Public comments. Yes, public comment period. Are there any public comments?
I have no written requests. Jackie, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers on the line.
Okay, thank you.
All right, fantastic. So now we go on to approving the minutes of the, looks like it was the January meeting.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes for January 22nd.
And I will second them.
Chairman, could you have a copy of this in front of you?
I do not.
Right here.
Oh, you're right, I do. My bad. See, summertime, man. What do I do?
You can call for all in favor, say aye.
Oh, yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, fantastic.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Very good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and.
Just to clarify, just to make sure, I just want to make sure, and any no's? Okay, just for clarity.
No, that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for, I'm glad we made that clear. All right, so let's move on to the fourth quarter budget update and financial status report by Ms. Eustachian.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair and Committee. I have a PowerPoint for you. We can get that turned on. It's on this computer right here. Okay, there we go. All right, so the way I want to start off this item is to go over the process. So we have ended the fiscal year on June 30th, but what happens is that we, as part of accounting rules, we have up until the end of August to pay any invoices and to do all of our recording that we need to do. So currently, right now, finance is in the process of still paying invoices from fiscal year '24. And we're also doing all of our recording, accounts reconciliation, and all those things that we need to do for year end. So we've started a very busy season for us as far as getting our financials in place and closed for the year end. So when you're looking at these numbers, everything is very preliminary because we haven't even gotten done paying invoices and stuff. So I wanted to put that out there so we know that these numbers could change, okay? So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to review the general fund revenues, where we currently stand, general fund expenditures by department, general fund expenditures by category, wastewater fund revenue and expenses, and transit fund revenue and expenses. So starting with revenues, as of June 30th, 93% of budgeted revenues have been collected, and most of the general fund revenue budget is from taxes. And just a reminder, property taxes usually record in December and May, and sales taxes received in monthly advanced estimated payments, and then a quarterly actual cleanup payment. And so to date, on these financials, we have recorded payments and sales tax through April. Other taxes include motor vehicle in lieu, which is received in February and June, as well as utility users tax, which is received monthly. And the miscellaneous revenue, you notice that that line is large. We're estimating a decrease, and that's because we have to allocate out some of that interest that's recorded in here to the other funds, their respective funds. So we'll be doing that. And overall, general fund revenues are expected to come in over budget by 2.8 million. 2.8. Okay, are there any questions on that?
Okay, so so it's miscellaneous here. We got the 409%. You said that, go over why that is so high again?
So what we do is when we are recording the interest that comes in, it all gets recorded in the general fund. What we have to do is we have to go through and do a complete allocation from that to all the different funds, because we roll on a pooled cash. So when we do investments, all of our investments are from a pooled cash account, and each fund has a certain amount of allocated cash. We have to go through and do a calculation to determine how much each fund gets from the interest that were earned. So it's first recorded in the general fund, and then we go through and do an entry to allocate it to all its respective funds. So you'll see that is, right now we have 4.5 that is actually sitting in that account for actuals, but we have to go through and do that calculation and then record it to all the other funds.
Okay.
So you have, on the estimated actuals, you have 3.4. So the 409% is the 4.5, and you anticipate it to be the 3.4.
Correct, correct. But
Okay.
since we haven't done the calculation, this is a estimate.
Okay.
But even if you go from the current budget of 1.2 to 3.4, that's still quite a bit higher.
It is.
So why
It is.
is that?
Do we know what the,
Yeah.
So this is from interest on investments.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
that's
yeah,
a good
so
thing.
as you'll see in the
Yeah.
next report, which is an investment report, the investments have done well because we also have rising interest rates, right, that have
Right.
taken effect. And then we've also put in some California class. We have sweep accounts. We have all these different investment places that we put into place that have now caused us to have more increase in revenue.
Okay, well, that's good news then.
It's not a bad problem.
No, that is not a problem.
Right.
All right, let's see what else, what other numbers are. So we got fines, let's see, 115, 185, so 161, but that isn't a credibly
And the
different
2.8
number. But anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, the 2.8 that you mentioned is the anticipated.
Anticipated.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions? Don't be shy. Feel free.
These numbers are as of June 31st.
Well, and it's, yeah, so we're continuing, we post,
Receivables and stuff, but otherwise, these numbers are pretty close. Percentages are pretty close to what at the end of the year, in the fiscal year.
right, right. Okay, so
All right.
now we'll move on. This, what you see before you is general fund expenditures by department. In your staff reports, I had highlighted, I'm sorry?
Never mind, keep going, sorry.
So in the staff report, I had, a lot of them were highlighted, because what we do normally is plus or minus 10%. But what I really want to do is just kind of really highlight to you anything that's significant. And so what I did on your presentation is I kind of cleaned it up a little bit to really highlight what the significant areas are for departments. So you have in the orange your departments that are over budget, and then in yellow are departments that are significantly under budget. And now what we do is we are anticipating bringing back a fourth quarter cleanup budget adjustment to City Council in August. And what that'll do is we'll have to request the amount for the budgets that have gone over. And there's specific reasons for that. But then the yellow are the highlights for the departments that are well under budget. So if there's any questions with that, I'm happy to answer those.
What is OES?
So OES was something that we had with the county, which we no longer have.
Okay.
That one I have highlighted. This is something we do in our process when we're doing the close end, is we review. Things like this tell us that we need to go back and look at that. So what happened is there was a accounts receivable invoice that was posted for that.
Okay.
And we believe that we need to go back and correct it. There's an error there. We got to go back and correct.
OES is Office of Emergency Services.
Oh, okay, that is what it said, okay.
And then I believe fire at the 57% is because they have not invoiced yet. They're usually
That's
delayed.
correct. It's very delayed. I've requested they always say, well, we can provide you an estimate of what it's going to be. So I've requested for that estimate, but I have not received it yet. But when we do that, because sometimes we have to book off that estimate because we only have till the end of August. But it's normally right around the end that we will get the fourth quarter invoice.
And then do you know if last year we were budgeted close to that? Because I believe that when we look at the surplus in a few slides that you're going to get to, then that is not going to be accounted for, right? So if we have a surplus on the line item and we still need to invoice out this fire, then we should subtract what we're expecting to be billed from them at that time, or have you trued up that already?
No, nothing in what we don't spend in the fiscal year has not been included in the budget. What would happen is at the end of the year, we wait until we get the audit number, and then we come back with that, and then that audit, anything that happens rolls into your fund balance.
I get what she's saying. Well, go ahead, you can clarify though, maybe they don't.
I was going to say, so just for clarification, the 12.6 estimate in your staff report does or does not include the balance left due to fire?
That's not.
That it includes everything.
Oh, it does.
Expenses and revenues. So that was just what you have. So we have an anticipated additional amount of revenue than what we budgeted. And then we have less expenditures than what we budgeted. So those two together then make up your 12.6.
And it does include the expected balance due to fire.
Correct. So it's going off of the estimates.
Okay, it's going on,
Yes.
there we go. It's going off of
Yes.
estimates. Okay, great.
Estimates.
And then can you explain the city council amount? Did we just not use it?
Speak to that one. I'd have to look at the detail of this one, but I believe it is for travel. There was one that we did not go to. It was the Cal Cities League. And because, no, it was, I'm sorry. You guys had just gotten back from DC, and there was another, something in Sacramento. I believe it was e-travel.
So one we budgeted for and then we didn't go to. And then is the administration under because of vacant positions? Do we know?
The administrator, there was a large amount put in there for a contract for CIP management.
Council authorized 500,000 to the TransTech contract, and then $500,000. And then I had asked for another $500,000 to be programmed for potentially a second contractor, and we've not retained that second contractor.
All right, and the other two line items that weren't talked about, the story of two development departments, community and economic. Economic is way under budget, community is over. What are the reasons for that?
Some of the economic development is vacancies,
Okay,
and the incentive program that hasn't been fully utilized.
oh, okay,
I think it's 93% of that budget is still sitting there.
okay,
The community development is over because of a large cash out.
A large what?
cash out.
Oh, okay. Could you explain that?
The person vacated the position and there was money owed to them as,
Oh,
what was
got
on-
it, okay.
on
That-
their leave bank. So,
Okay.
Yeah, as part of their negotiated contract.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay,
So
cool. Thank you.
something that happens too is that we always request the departments to request any carryover budget that they have. So what they can do is they look, and so like say with economic development, if they're going to continue on with the incentive programs and things like that, then what they'll do is they submit to finance, and this is the process, they submit to finance the request to carry over that budget because it's still an ongoing thing. And what happens is that staff report comes back to council for approval to be allowed to carry over anything. And it can be anything that contracts that they have in place that were not completed in fiscal year '24, any programming of that sort, like the economic development, or maybe any purchases that were approved in fiscal year '24 but not yet received.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's say I'm a head of a department and I'm over budget for the fiscal year. What incentives do I have for being more efficient with my money and coming under budget?
So from an executive standpoint, if a department head is over budget, that's a performance issue. And there's measures in place between me and that person to ensure that that doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Every department now has a management analyst that should be tracking their budgets.
Okay.
And making sure, not just quarterly, but monthly, that they're in line and they're hitting their marks and their measures and their goals. Things do happen.
Right, of course.
For example, the large cash out, that the position was not scheduled to be vacated. And
Right.
it ended up being people leave.
Yeah.
So things like that happen, but as far as the day-to-day operations, all budgets are being tracked every 30 days by the individual departments. And then if they look like they're going to go over, they have an opportunity to come to me and ask for a budget adjustment either quarterly or mid-year.
Okay.
But it is a performance issue.
Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
Okay, and if you're ready, we can move on.
I just wanted to thank you folks for all the great things you've done in the parks around town. I have a 10-year-old boy, and he utilizes a lot of the parks, and it's really awesome to see you only did 72% of the budget with all the great work that you folks did, so thank you.
Sounds good. We'll let them know.
For sure.
Okay, so this chart represents expenditures by type for the fourth quarter. So currently, the only category that is over budget is transfers, and we believe that to be a misposting. So right now, we're going through that and doing the reconciliation to make that correction. But we don't anticipate it to be over budget at the end. So with that, I don't have any categories that are over, but you can see that we're kind of in line with what we budgeted. And if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them if you have any. If not, we can move on to wastewater.
What's that? I don't have anything, no.
Okay. So what we have for you is the wastewater fund results. And wastewater revenues are collected in arrears. And what that means is the July billing is accrued back to prior fiscal year, and the first billing for fiscal year '24 was collected in September. So billing is completed bi-monthly, and as of the date of this report, the wastewater fund has collected 93% of its budgeted revenues. The other revenues that are in there, there are some that don't have budget, like the other financing sources, and that is return check fees. Miscellaneous revenue category is interest earnings and lease revenue, and overall wastewater revenues are expected to come in over budget by 1.2 million. And then on the graph next to it, you can see wastewater expenses are listed and have personnel at 96% of the budget, operating at 76%, equipment at 81%, and contingency is over budget at 133%, and transfers at 91%. Overall expenses are expected to come in $551,000 less than budget.
I had a question. So what was the contingency, the extra past the 200,000, what was that contingency used for?
So the contingency is for, there's a policy requirement to have contingency for operating funds. And what that's for is for circumstances that come up that are unplanned.
Sure.
What happened is there was a accident or a vehicle that damaged equipment for wastewater. And so there was large expense that came with that, and so
Sure.
that's what the contingency is for.
I understand.
Right.
Thank you.
Citizen or somebody? Quick question with regards to being over with revenues. I believe with the utility, we have to be fairly equal and we're held to that. So what is that going to look like for us moving forward?
Well, what happened here is that we passed the budget before we got to the increase for the rates.
Okay.
And so the budget doesn't necessarily reflect the rate that was in place.
Okay.
So that is why it has come over. But all of what we did when we did the rate study is we accounted for what would happen moving forward with the rate increases.
Okay. So do we, and then when we council passed the budget for 25, that took into account the new
It did,
rates and then expenditures to bring us to that level playing field?
correct,
Okay.
correct. All right.
Want to be honest.
No, no, I
Keeping us
appreciate it.
honest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That was actually going to be my question. Any other questions?
Okay, we can move on to transit. And so currently, we have transit revenues are over budget at 105%. Taxes collected are Measure A operating assistance, which is quarterly, and our governmental is the RCTC funding. And miscellaneous revenue is interest and EV charging, and proprietary is fares. So transit expenses are at 90% of total budget, with personnel at 94%, operating at 76%, and structure at 75%. And overall transit expenses are expected to come in below budget by $168,000, and those are estimates. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
All right, so initially I see the 719% for miscellaneous. Is there any reason why that is so high?
On the miscellaneous
Revenues.
category.
The
Revenues.
left-hand side.
Yeah, revenues.
On revenues
yes.
miscellaneous, you got 719%.
Right, right. So that, again, you have your interest sitting in there.
Oh, the interesting is a part of that, okay. And the proprietary is pretty high, is that also the interest?
No,
No.
no, your proprietary revenues are your, the fares, fare
Okay.
box.
So that's just a result of people using it then?
Correct.
Okay.
Box is up.
Well, that's good then, okay. Okay, well, then that's a positive number right there.
I have noticed that our EV chargers out here in City Hall are heavily used.
Okay,
I think took us a while to get momentum with the public knowing that they're there.
yeah,
But almost on any given night when I leave, there's several people using them.
okay.
Yeah, and since it was new too, it was kind of hard to estimate what that revenue was gonna be
Yeah,
at the very
absolutely.
beginning,
Right.
right? Yeah, right.
All
So
right.
with that concludes my report. And like I said, we're still working on these numbers. They're not final. They are estimates. And what we're thinking what will happen is when we come back and reconvene in our next meeting, we can show you what we have submitted to the auditors for review. And then it'll be like a true-up of what actually happened in fiscal year '24.
What time of the year do the auditors audit this information?
They're scheduled to
The
come out in
fall?
October. October.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they come out in October, and then we have a report that we bring forward to Finance and Audit Committee. You all get to review the draft report before it is actually taken and presented to City Council.
And Jennifer, what is the deadline that we have to have that done?
We have to have it done by the end of December.
September?
December, by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Calendar.
Okay,
What was the revenues again, the increase in the revenues? What did you tell me, 1 point what? Oh,
Which-
for the transit, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Where we're at for,
What
we
we're
currently
gonna, our
stand?
estimated over for revenues.
Oh, it looks like it's 3 points, so we're.
No, you put 1.7 here, I think. Hold on. No, that's wastewater.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me go to my report. I have it circled, hold on. Oh, I didn't add that up for you, I'm sorry. So currently, we stand at 3.1. We're expected to be at 3.2, but it was at a little over 3 million, so we're looking at about 200,000.
And so then I want to ask, looking at the repairs and maintenance there, is there any particular repair that was unexpected that pushed you beyond 100% under repairs and maintenance?
I do not have that answer for you.
Okay.
It could have been a transmission on a bus that
Okay.
was
so-
out of warranty.
Okay, there's a lot of
We
various
try to
factors.
budget for at least one transmission to go out,
Oh, okay.
but it could have been, usually for, under repairs and maintenance, it's usually those big repairs on a bus that we're not ready to get rid of yet.
Got it. Okay, no, that's good to know.
Yeah. If you do see, on those smaller budget lines
Mm-hmm.
like that, anything that does go over tends to make it look like it's a larger amount because it's a small budget amount
That
to
is a good
begin
point
with.
as well.
Right.
Yep, that's a good point. Good point.
Doesn't take much to raise the percentage.
To raise the
exactly, it
Right,
doesn't.
right.
That's a
Inflates it
valid-
quickly.
1,000.
That's a valid point.
Right, right.
Yeah, my eyes always go to those.
Yeah,
You're looking at
I'm
the
same
higher
way.
percentage.
Yes,
Yeah, that's okay.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the way to look at
I
them.
know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Get the outliers out of the way. Maybe they're easy to answer,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And that's
Right.
okay.
Love
They
those
could
red
be-
flags.
There you go. That's right.
Okay, so and that concludes my report. If there are any other questions, I'm available to answer them.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think, is that it for the fourth quarter budget update financial status report? Awesome, okay. So first of all, we haven't asked for public comments, so do we have public comments?
All right. I have no written requests. Jackie, do we have any callers on the line?
No, there's no callers on the line.
All right, fantastic. Then we've had our committee discussions, so now you receive and file. So we need a motion and a second. Okay,
I'll second.
Sorry.
that's okay. You're good. I appreciate
Yeah, I turned on-
appreciate that.
I had to turn on my light.
It's all right. Gets it moving. All right.
You can just say, does everybody say?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so we'll do a voice vote. All who say, okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any noes? All right, very good. All right. Okay, so next up is the fourth quarter cash and investment report.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so as we have already kind of touched on, we did
Yes,
some
we
in
did
our
earlier.
investments.
Yes, that
um,
is correct.
And what we do is just a reminder is our investment policy always looks at, you have your safety first, liquidity, and then rate of return. So that's how we always look at our investments. We do have our portfolios that are managed from our investment advisor, but then we also have things like our sweep account, which is our checking. So anything that's held in our checking has gone to a sweep account, and what that does is does overnight investments, which then gives us back some interest on that. And then we also receive interest on our Bank of Bahamas accounts, and we have our California class and LAIF. So LAIF is the state pool that we're able to invest in. And then we have our PARS account, which is our Pension 115 Trust account. So with that, in your reports, you'll see that we've listed all of the balances as of June 24. These are final numbers for June 24 on your balances. And I have also included the significant transactions that have taken place through the quarter. We do have 2 CDs with BMO that will be maturing on July 29th and August 2nd. And so it is recommended to reinvest one of the CDs into a 12-month, and that has an estimated rate at 4.356. And now these are estimated because they do not give you the actual rate until the week of on that Monday.
All right.
And then the other one, we are recommending to invest it in an 18-month CD at an estimated rate of 4.115. And that exact rate, like I said, would not be known until the actual Monday of the week that it matures. But the recommendations are for the need. We don't need these monies within the next 12 months, so put one in the 12 and then put one in the 18th, kind of ladders those to CDs from maturity.
Great.
With that, I'm available for any questions that you have.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go please.
On those interests, on those, are they bonds or
The
CDs?
The CDs.
On those CDs, sounded like the 12-month was 4.4 and the 18-month was 4.1. You think for a longer term, you get a better investment, no?
Normally, but we're not in that kind of normal
Yeah.
realm right now, so it is your longer-term investments
will those-
actually have a lower investment rate. But what happens is there's changes, if you get into that 4.1 now, what might happen is in 3 months, you have something that's changed.
Sure.
And so rather than looking at it on a current now rate, remember, we're always doing safety, liquidity, and then yield. And so is liquidity needed now, and do we want to put it in a short term versus putting it in a longer term, which you
So
have,
liquidity is the.
right,
is
is
the-
kind of the
yeah.
factor there.
If I remember correctly, there's a lot of talk now about possible lower interest rates moving forward with the Fed and stuff. That's probably why.
That is correct. So then you take a risk too, because if you wait and later on, then they lower rates, then you're probably going to be looking at, you lock into a 4.1 now, but in 3 months, it might be at 3 point something, so it'll have gone down.
Are these both with the same lending institution? The same
They are,
company?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Our CDs are held at BMO.
Thank you.
Can you go over a sweep account once again, just to kind of discuss that? And then you said safety, liquidity, and
Safety, liquidity, and then yield.
yield.
Right. So a sweep account, we have sweep accounts, one with our general checking and one with our payroll account. And what that does is it's something that the bank offers to where your balance that's in the checking account is what's put into a sweep account. And this kind of happens on a daily transaction. So at the end of the night, anything that's available is swept into overnight investment security, and then it's purchased back the next day. You earn interest on that. So it's essentially having that account is paying you interest on keeping a balance in there. And we have that through 2 accounts.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we need to ask for public comment? I was going to say I was going to make a motion.
No, I'll just do that right now. Do you have any public comments?
I have no written request. Jackie, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers on the line.
I move to receive and file this report.
All right, yeah, we have a motion, you just say, I'll second. So then all in favor, say aye.
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 Any no's? All right. And then we have under that the accounts receivable.
Yes,
Was that a part of?
that is me tonight.
Okay, well, you're up.
Okay, so the City of Beaumont's revenue collections financial policies state that the Finance Department is responsible for ensuring all accounts receivable are properly pursued and accounted for. So the Finance Department will also ensure on an annual basis that a report is provided to City Council on the condition of the city's collection efforts and whether any accounts receivable should be written off. So we're bringing this to you first before we take this to City Council. Over the past couple of years, the Finance Department has taken steps to enhance its credit practices by implementing the Tyler Accounts Receivable module. So for fiscal year 23-24, it was kind of our first year of being on that whole system. So there's still little stats for you that through this system, which has allowed us to get off of a spreadsheet and run reports and be able to monitor this real live time. We have collected 9.7 million through the system, and as of 6/30/24, there's 211,249 that is currently sitting in the over 120 days. So we're working on trying to collect those. Some of some of the items on here, when you look through the detail report, it just takes time. A lot of grants take time to actually collect, but you have to give them an invoice to be able to collect off of. And then there's a couple like insurance items, those take time as well. So in reviewing this report, finance staff feels that everything at this point in time is collectible. There is nothing to recommend to write off.
Could you go over just like over one of those lines and kind of, let's look at
Sure,
like,
if you want to kind of look at the headers.
yeah, so let's look at like 2023 to 2024 weed abatement. So current, I'm just picking that one randomly here. So explain, so current means that, looking on page, I'm sorry, I should.
It's actually for Beaumont Unified
I was
School
going to say, is it
District.
probably,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
your report will tell you who the
Oh, I see,
customer
I see.
is that we've sent out an invoice to.
And then there's certain,
And
okay,
then
and then
that's
there's
kind
all
of the
this
descriptions
stuff.
of what it stands for.
Oh,
Yeah, what they
okay.
were invoiced for.
And so then current is what they owe,
Yes,
and then 30 to 60 is 30 to 60 days past
Past
due.
due.
Got it, okay.
yeah.
60 to 90,
Yeah.
and then,
So you'll see the
Got it,
bulk of
okay.
what's on this report is sitting in the current status. And,
yes,
we try to collect everything from the 30 to 60 and past, and that's what we focus on. We don't really worry about the first 30 days because they have 30 days to pay it. So.
yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So for like the state of California, I'm assuming that's probably a grant.
Yes.
And so we're probably submitting that and just monitoring it, waiting
Yes.
for it to come back.
Yep.
And what,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what steps if you get to the greater than 120 for some reason, or what kind of steps are taken?
So our accounts receivable, she has a process of sending letters out and then making phone calls, and
Sure.
she's usually pretty successful
Okay.
in collecting with those methods.
Yeah,
So there's one on here for like Milan Academy and they rented out Stetson Park.
Yes, yes.
So that one, we're still gonna attempt to call, it sounds like,
Yes,
and
correct.
collect.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
okay. And what are the consequences if they do not pay? Do you just like next year not,
They probably would not be able to rent the fields.
I would imagine. That's what I kind of figured.
I know
But
that
I
the-
just want to confirm.
The Parks and Rec monitors
It's true,
that.
we just don't let them use them
Yeah.
again.
Okay, that makes sense to me. If you're not going to pay, you can't use the building.
Yeah. So our
okay.
recommended action is to receive and review and recommend moving forward to council.
All right. Yeah, you answered my questions. Are there any other questions you guys have? Okay. Are there any public comments?
I have no written requests. Jackie, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers on the line.
Okay, cool. All righty, we've done committee discussion, so I'll make a motion that we review and recommend moving forward to city council. So I'll make a motion for that. Anybody want to second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any noes? Okay. That I think is it. Now we move on to subcommittees. So Internal Control Committee, that's us. I guess we just take direction from council. Is there anything you particularly want us to do at this point?
I have not heard of anything from finance or the city manager that they would
Yeah,
like
they-
for the internal control committee?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I do have one question, maybe somewhat along control lines. Do we use the same system that you guys are using for accounts for our deposits for planning?
This is, finance uses Tyler, planning uses, what is it, eGov? What's it called?
It's Energov, but
Energov.
it's now Enterprise. They kind of
Enterprise.
converted the system, and
But
it's
Tyler
called
bought
Enterprise.
Energov? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's still a Tyler product.
it's the same umbrella
Yeah.
company.
Same umbrella.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have similar reports such as this that give us what outstanding deposits are and things along those lines. So you could see what we're carrying for each account and what's been deducted from all of those. Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so then moving on from there, treasurer, review and comments. Finance Jennifer, you're up.
So my only comment is that when we come back in October, we'll re-review where we left off, or where we at, and what we submitted to the auditor for the fiscal year '24, where we landed. There will be a special meeting we will have to call to review the audit report, and we'll discuss that more at our next meeting.
Okay, fantastic. All right, are there any final questions you guys have before I adjourn?
So that'll be in addition to the October 28th, sorry.
Oh, go
Right,
ahead.
you'd be looking at probably sometime at the end of November,
End of
that we would want to reconvene and look at the
The
draft audit
auditor's
report.
comment, the
Okay,
reports. Okay, so
fantastic.
one will be to look at the audit, the other one will be, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. All right, in that case, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:49 PM. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, David. Pleasure.
Yes. Nice to meet you, man.